Welcome, everybody. Um, and I'm glad to be with you. And I'm welcoming myself into your midst because I know that what I've discovered about the people of Kenya is that they are a welcoming people. And I love being with you all. And and I say that um, with great sincerity. And the so let's just leave it at that. I just am really pleased to be with you today. Gratitude is a thing that is, I think, not understood well. I became interested in the topic about 18 years ago. And uh, what I became interested in is um, is the fact that I found that most people, when they talked um, about gratitude, were more interested in feeling grateful, that it was really a feeling sort of thing. And this happened back in the late 2000s when we had just gone through this great recession and people were feeling very kind of beat up and really, it was a hard time, and not unlike what we're going through now. But I found that people were kind of using gratitude as an excuse not to look forward, and they were looking for ways to feel good about themselves and just to be grateful for their life. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I just think it's not adequate for the kinds of world we live in. If we just seek to feel good or feel grateful, then we'll find that it's not very lasting. And it doesn't provide a foundation for the way we can spend our days so that maybe our life becomes defined by not how we feel about our life, but rather how we live our life, how we actually do things. And it came to me that what we really need to talk about is, how do we think of gratitude as something we do? What does it look like if I am a grateful person? If I'm a grateful person and somebody sees me and meets me, how can they see that I am a grateful person? What does that look like? And I think if we were to ask that question of ourselves, what it would really kind of force us to begin to ask is, what is it that I should be grateful for, that then becomes the motivation for me to be grateful towards other people, or to act gratefully in another situation. So there's this kind of pairing that comes together of not just how I feel, but why I feel the way I do. Why is it that I feel grateful? And then what are the actions that I should be doing if I'm really feeling a deep sense of gratitude to the world, or to my family, or to my business, to my community? I think it's an important question to ask, particularly in hard times, because what I found, 15 years ago when people were going through the recession, is that they were pulling back and saying, "Well, I'm just going to wait for things to kind of return to normal," and they did not realize that things were not going to return to normal, and they still haven't returned to normal from that time that we were in 15 years ago. And in many respects, when we went into the pandemic, 4 years ago, it was a similar sort of situation where, okay, we're going to kind of wait this out. We're going to, follow the rules. We're going to wait this out, and then things will be back to normal. But I think maybe you see it as I see it, but we still have not returned to normal, and we may never return to normal, because things just are not suited for normalcy any longer. And so we have to kind of think differently about our lives. And this is why I think that recognizing that we are in transition all the time. This is something Tony and I talk about all the time. He's a master of this idea of being in transition. I think that idea that we're all in transition is really a way of saying how do I want my life to look a year from now or 5 years from now if I decide that I want to put gratitude at the heart of my life? Now, how many people can you think of it just off the top of your mind of that you feel like you have real reasons to say thank you to them? Why you should be grateful? I mean, I know there may be members of your family that you feel this way, or there may be a teacher that you feel this way, or a pastor who you feel this way, or someone who hired you early in your life and they trusted you and then they mentored you and you have everything to say to them that is thank you for helping me to get to where I am today. I think being able to kind of put our minds into this kind of frame where we're looking for reasons to say thank you, and we're looking for all the things that have been beneficial to us. And in saying they may be beneficial to us, it may be even the hard challenges that have come our way or have been beneficial to us because they have taught us what's important and what's not important. They've taught us how to let go of things that we thought were at one point essential, but no longer we realize they're no longer essential. And it may be some people that we were in relationship with that no longer are very beneficial to us because they maybe distract us or they may make our life hard. And so we now put some distance between us and them, and so we're in a better position as a result to be grateful. So I'm really wanting you to hear that this idea of being grateful is not just something I feel, it's something I do. And so I've come up with these 5 actions, the 5 actions of gratitude. And I'm so serious about this that I've tried to get businesses to apply this where they do a program or a campaign where their team keeps a record of each action of gratitude that they do during the course of a month. And if they were to do this and then they have a check-in every month, well, this is the 25 things I did to say thanks. These are 25 people I said thanks to, and maybe it was just the kind of, well, thank you for coming in today. Well, that says something. And we may think of that as kind of not very significant, but to the person, it may have been significant to be thanked for coming in. We don't know. I mean, we don't know. So I think that if we were to practice these 5 things, and if we were to keep track of them, then I think what we'd find is our life would change. And we would see 2 things happening. One would be we'd see our relationships changing so that, I mean, if we were, how many we have now? We have about 15 people or so, 15 or 20 people, Tony. Imagine if this group met once a month, and all we did was we recounted the actions of gratitude that we did during that month. And every one of those actions would have a story tied to it. And all those stories would be some way of measuring the impact that each one of us is having in our lives. So what I'm really saying is I'm talking about a way to change your life in a very practical and simple way by being grateful. And I'm not investing a whole lot of energy in wanting to present some kind of face to the world that we're grateful. Well, I'm not really talking about that at all. What I'm really interested in is us just doing the things of gratitude which build relationships and build strength in an organization. So here, let me take you through the 5 actions of gratitude, and I'm going to pop up on the screen a picture of them. And so in the center, what you see here is We say thanks. That's the first thing we do. We say thanks every day. Every day we say thanks to someone. Maybe it's to your family, maybe it's to someone at work, maybe it's to a client, maybe it's to God. Someone, some being, some or some organization. You send a note saying thank you for allowing me to serve your company. I mean, and when that comes unexpected, then it has some weight to it. And I think that's the sort of thing that you can do. And if you keep in mind, I'm going to say thanks to someone every day, or I'm going to say thanks to every person I meet, every encounter I have, I'm going to look for something to say to them where I'm expressing gratitude to them. It could be like, thank you for the way you are working with your people. Thank you for the example that you have set for my children. Thank you for this. When we are looking for ways to thank people for what they are doing, and it's particularly things that they have done for us, then our whole sense of motivation is to see just how deeply connected we are as people in the world today. So saying thanks is I think is the first thing, and we just need to do this every day. And so Tony, thank you for asking me to do this, because this is so much fun, but it's also very gratifying to me to be able to talk about this with people that, for one, I don't know, but one I care about, because I know that you know them and you care about them. So thank you all for being here, and thank you for letting me speak to this. Okay, the second action of gratitude is that we give back. Now, giving back is to recognize that there are people and organizations that have given to us. And so in some cases, what we're doing is volunteering. And we're going to volunteer because it's a way of giving back to an agency who has done something for us. I don't think this is a difficult thing to imagine, because I think all of us have had groups. It may be a school, or it may be a nonprofit or an NGO, or some group that has done something for us that has advanced our life in some way. This is particularly true when we're young. There are a lot of groups where that happens. And so look for ways to give back to them, because I think when we do, then we are doing something of significance. I'll give you an example. I grew up in the American South, and it was during a time of racial segregation. So white people went to white schools, and African American people went to African American schools, and we were not blended at all. There's no integration. It was changing when I came along as a child. And when I was in high school, my football coach was an African American man, big guy. Baxter Holman was his name. He had played football in Canada, and he was our football coach. And he suffered a lot because of the racial discrimination that was present in our community. And we who were his players loved him because of the way he handled that abuse. And so the way he maintained his dignity became something that we all recognized. And to this day, I mean, we're now talking 50 years later, to this day, we still talk about Coach Holman and what his example for us as a man living in a very conflicted world, how to live that life with dignity and self-respect and respect for others. And we have taken that on as the thing that is ours. So he gave us that, And now we give that back through all the different things that we do, and we give it back to each other as when we gather together and we talk about the past, but we talk about the past as if it's still living because his example lives in us, and his example is expressed through us to other people now. And so we are giving back by being grateful to what our coach did for us. So that's a way of seeing how we can give back, and we can also give it in a, I think the language is giving it forward. We receive and then we give it forward. So the idea is that we are giving in service to some group. It may be that we volunteer at the school and we, help to raise money for kids, maybe to help them buy books or whatever it may be. We're giving back to those places that have contributed to our lives. The third action of gratitude is to make welcome. And I think you all understand this probably better than most of the people I would talk to here in the US, because you welcome people into your friendship and into your fellowship. And my introduction to people from Africa, that this is what I discovered. But in an organizational sense, this idea of making welcome is to say thank you to new people who come in and give them the opportunity to contribute, to participate and contribute right away. And one way of talking about this, give them the opportunity to be leaders right away, so that they may contribute to the company or to the group or to the club or to the community, so that then we have something to say thank you to them for, but they also have something to say thank you for allowing me to enter in as a new person and become a contributor or someone who is having an impact with this group that obviously we all care about. So we have three actions of gratitude here. We have saying thanks every day. We have giving back to people and places that have given to us, that have contributed to our lives. The third is that we're making people who are new to us welcome into our midst, and we're giving them the opportunity to contribute, to make a difference. And that's a way of thanking the opportunity for them to be there. Thank you for coming. Thank you for willing to be a contributor to the work that we do. The fourth action of gratitude is that we honor others. And I don't know how it operates where you are, but when people retire after a career, there's usually a dinner, and they're honored at the dinner, and they give them some kind of a plaque, or they give something as a memento for serving at the company for 40 years or whatever it may be. Well, I think that's fine. I think it's okay. But I think that it's important that we spend time honoring people all through the course of our lives. And we honor people by celebrating the things that they do that make a difference, that matters. So we have to be looking for that. And I think let's say you're in a business and you have some people that work for you, one of the ways you can do that is to honor things that they're doing, your employees are doing, that suggest that they have contributed to the strengthening of the business, or to strengthening the relationship that the company has to its clients, whatever that may be. But we spend our time honoring others. And I learned this in particular on a summer adventure where I was doing refugee work in Pakistan. And I was honored not because I had done something extraordinarily noteworthy, but because I was part of a team that had brought food and shelter and clothing to a group of Afghan refugees who were very destitute. And one of the men of the village came over to me, and he grabbed my hands in his, and he shook them, and then he reached up, and I had a beard at that time, and he stroked my beard. And what what I was told later that day was that that is how one, that is how one Afghan man shows another Afghan man honor or gratitude. And I have never been thanked like that before in my life. And it changed my life. It changed my life. And so I knew that I wanted to live a life where I had the opportunity to honor people and to give them thanks. And so that's why this fourth action is so important, because if you're doing that, and it may be nothing, I mean, it may be similar to saying thanks, but if you're doing it, you could do this in such a way that you're building strength in the organization by recognizing things that are worth celebrating, that maybe the person who did them never thought they would receive any kind of recognition or accolades. But here they are receiving this from you, and it builds the sense of they're noticing me. They notice the work that I'm doing, and this is really important. How many people work their lives and no one really knows who they are? They've never been really thanked in any way. So you can see that these 5 actions are really about how we build our relationships within an organization or in a community, or you can even use these in your family. I mean, imagine that, maybe once a week or once a month, you gather your family together and they say, so what do we have to be thankful for today, for this month? And who do we need to give back to? We're going to plan as a group, as a family, who do we give back to? And who do we need to welcome into our circle as a family, because maybe they don't have anyone to care for them? And who do we need to say thank you to in terms of honoring the work that they've done that's made a difference to us? I mean, these are things that build the relationships that we need to have for our organizations and our families and our communities to really thrive. And I'm saying this to you because I think this is a strategy. This is a way of dealing with the challenges that happen in a society. I mean, and I know that you all are under stress as a society, financially and politically, and I know that is true there. It's true all over the world, and so being able to find a way to operate in that stress-filled environment where together we come together to say thanks and give back and make welcome and honor others. When we do that together, we're building the kind of strength that will allow us to be resilient and overcome the challenges that we face in our lives. The last action of gratitude is to create goodness. And to create goodness is to say, I have been given something. I have been given a talent. I have been given a passion. I've been given a vision. I've been given a calling. I've been given something which truly matters to me, but I don't know what to do with that. And so if we think about creating goodness, we're going to say, what does it look like if I say, go start a new business that allows for people to discover their talent, or allows them to discover what their purpose is. Or maybe this is a way we solve some of the problems that our communities face by starting something new. The creating goodness is really of saying the goodness is the thing which unites us together. It's a sense of beauty. It's a sense of something that is foundational and something we can hold on to and something that we can carry with us through these challenging times. And that whatever that is going to be different for each one of us. So for me, I'll just tell you for me to create goodness is really about how I engage with people, um, how I talk with people, how I have conversations with people, because I am interested in people feeling like they have something to offer to the world. They have something that is valuable. They have something which is worth giving to the world. That engagement that I have with people is where my sense of creating goodness comes from. And this has been true all my life. Um, Last year, when I started my podcast, I didn't realize that this would kind of be the apex of this. This would become the vehicle, which is above all these things that I've done, the most significant way for me to engage with people and to create goodness. Because what I've done is given people the opportunity to talk about themselves in a way that's not about pride, but rather talk about what they believe in and what is important to them, and how they've overcome thick situations and what they want for their lives. So that conversation is really for them to express themselves in ways that then come back to them as, oh, I really like the way I feel about things. I really have a new sense of what is possible because of these things that I really care about or treasure. So, so this idea of creating goodness is something that you create and you build and you grow, and it may be the thing that you do for your business, or it may not be. It may be something totally separate. Because what is separate is it could be something um, that you have a love of music and you're creating music, and maybe you're doing music at your church, and you're creating new songs for your church, and it's drawing new people to come there because they love the music that you're creating, and you may be, you may be a coach, and yet the thing that is really creative in your own heart and soul is that of being a musician. I met a man a number of years ago in a bookstore, and he was a welder, and he worked for a mining company, and all he did was weld metal round the clock every day. And when I met him, I was talking with him, and these five things are in my mind when I'm meeting people, and I'm saying to him, well, what would you like to do differently than that? He says, well, I'd really like to do more things at work than they allow me to do. And I said, but they won't allow me to do them. I said, well, what else would you like to do? And he says, I don't know. I like being creative. That was his language. And I said, so why don't you go to the community college, trade college, and learn how to do metal fabrication? And I said, and then you can take your welding and your metal fabrication, and you can create works of art. You could create public art that would sit in a park, or you could sit at a business, and you're creating things of beauty that comes out of you wanting to express something more than simply being a welder. And the look on his face was just like, I have never thought about being someone so different than that, but it was so pleasing to him to think about himself being an artist and not simply a welder. See, I think that somewhere in the depths of these five actions is our true self. And I think by saying thanks and by giving ourselves to other people and by being creative in that, we begin to discover things about ourselves that we would have not ever seen if we were kind of backed into a corner where we spend most of our time being anxious about the future. I'm not saying the future doesn't have a lot of anxiety about that. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that we face that future by finding positive ways, constructive ways to do things which allow us to discover things about ourselves that we would never discover otherwise. So these five actions of say thanks, give back, make welcome, honor others, and create goodness it really is, it could be a strategy for how you run your life. And so imagine that if you were to keep track, just take a little card and you keep, here are the 5 things. And every time I do something, I'm doing a little check mark, and you're keeping track, and you do that, say, for 3 months, and you're not thinking about it other than to mark it on your card. At the end of the 3 months, you take your card and you look at all those things that you've done, and you recognize that your life has been living differently because you've been focused on something that's much more positive, much more constructive. So that's why I really think if we were to say thanks every day, and we were to give back every day, and we were make welcome new people into our lives every day, and that we would honor others for what they have done for the world every day, and that we were in a mindset to be creating new things that are of real goodness, that our lives would be different. And so I think that's the interway and the thing which I think is the most essential to understand here. But I want to say one more thing. When we go through all this transition in the world, and it's chaotic, and it creates all kinds of fear and anxiety and difficulty, what I don't think we recognize is that the way we function as individuals in relationship to one another in the localness of our communities is how we build resilience for being able to get through these hard times together. We may not be able to get through them by ourselves, but together we can get through them together. And by these 5 actions being practiced between us, we are able to build a kind of resilience in our communities which would not exist otherwise. So this is not just about us, just not about our team, but it's really about more of how our communities and how our world can function in a wholly different way than what we've been doing, which is to kind of look at the things from a very negative or critical or fear-based way of looking at things. So do you have any questions? Every question's a good one. Rebecca?
Yes, Rebecca, Rebecca's hand is up. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Hi.
I hope I'm audible. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that presentation, and yeah, quite thought-provoking. My question is, in the what you talked about goodness as a form of gratitude, how do you create goodness in a world that is so individualistic, and it appears that most people have lost trust in others, so that when you do good, people are stuck at trying to interrogate your motive. Being good has been perceived as if you're after something, you do something good, but somebody is just stuck at wondering, what is it that you really want from me? Um, so that's my comment. I don't know how you would navigate through that.
That's a really excellent question. It's really great. I'm tempted to say those people don't matter, but they do matter. But they're looking for someone to step forward and show them something different. I think that we need to be responsive to our own inner motivations. I think we are too dependent upon other people's opinion. They don't validate your value. They may love you and you may love them. You may have relationships of real friendship, but at some level, they can't tell you what you already know in your own heart, which is, I'm a person who is worthy of respect, and I'm going to live a life of respect, self-respect. And I think it's one of the difficult things. And, you know, social media makes it very difficult for us to kind of build connections with people that that don't have a lot of anxiety and exploitation. I think that's part of the challenge. Rebecca, I would just say, when you discover that thing inside of you, which is so powerful that it really doesn't matter what other people think of you. And if you can get to that point, then I think that you're able to then begin to build the relationships where people will listen to you. Let me give you another example of this. I was working with a woman. This is probably 4 years ago, and we were spending a whole day together in a planning session. We were talking. She was transitioning from one job to the next, and she was starting a business, and we were kind of working through what that business was going to look like. And at one point, I came to the point where I said to her, you know, you need to say no more than you do. And the only way you can learn to say no is by recognizing that every time you say no, you're affirming some value. So make your no's a yes. Meaning, if I'm going to say no to someone because I feel like they're not treating me well, then I'm saying yes to something about myself which is worth caring about. And maybe there are things that you want to do that you feel like nobody is interested in. But that's only because you haven't met the people who may be interested in that. And so I think I'm not talking about you becoming more individualistic. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the gifts that we have to give to people, we first have to kind of come to understand what those things are ourselves, and then learn how to give those to people in such a way that they can receive them well and receive them with gratitude. I hope that helps. I think that one of the hardest things that we all have to deal with is dealing with the opinion of others, and because we feel like, they somehow have some kind of hold on us, and they really don't. They really don't. And I mean, if you asked, are they giving, what are they going to do? If they don't like me, what are they going to do? Well, if it's your boss, that's one thing. But I've had bosses that didn't like me, and what do you do? Well, you sometimes you're honest with them, and sometimes you say, okay, it's time for me to leave and go somewhere else. Well, what you're doing is really protecting your own sense of well-being and your own sense of dignity, your own sense of self-respect, and that is a starting point for a lot of this. Is that helpful? You're muted. Where were you?
Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, I hear you now.
I cannot hear Rebecca. Can you hear?
I can't hear.
I was saying that was helpful. Thank you.
Do you have something that you want to share with the world that you feel uncertain about sharing?
Myself,
You're
not really. The perspective I was looking at is the recipient of the gratitude, where people are very are looking at acts of kindness as you have something you want from them. they treat it with a bit of suspicion, so that it's like when you do something good to them, they expect there's something you want from them. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. I'm good to you, you're good to me. So when you you just selfless and you give and give without expecting something in return, then it becomes very people are wondering what is this all about? I mean, there must be something. So the gratitude is not really accepted because the person this recipient is stuck on wondering, does this person really have to give me or that? But
Well,
I think I really like the way you have looked at it from the other perspective. Thank you.
and I would just say you have no control over how they respond. So you just give, and you say what you need to say, and then and you're not and while it'd be nice for them to say thank you, I think that's an expectation that may not be valid in many cases. So you just say thank you, and you leave it at that, and you move on. So
Yeah, yeah.
thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for your question.
That's profound. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Lucy, I see your hand, but before we come to you, I want to acknowledge Dorcas. Rema, she has said, I have never thought that honoring others is a sign of gratitude. Thanks, Ed. Gratitude. And there's a question before we come to Lucy's from Felix. He's asking whether he's entitled to give back to an organization. What if they do not recognize me giving back to them? Ed?
Well, I think that if you give with the expectation that they will receive, then it's no longer out of the goodness of your heart. You're actually looking for some kind of exchange. It's like an economic exchange. I'm going to pay you with gratitude, and you're going to pay me with thanks. It's like an economic exchange. I don't think that's the way this is working. This is the hard thing because so much of our world is oriented around exchange. You give me this, and I'll give you that in return. And we see how that works. It makes life hard. But if we love each other, this is really another way of saying, I care about you, I love you, and I wish the very best for you. Thank you for what you've done for me or for my family. And that's all you say, then you have kind of met the obligation within your own heart to be grateful. And they have a whole separate set of obligations that they must face that you have no connection to. And that's the hard part, I think, is feeling that we can separate ourselves from the response. But I think it's essential for our own well-being and our own peace of mind. And I guarantee you, if you practice this, you're going to find people who want to be connected to you, and they will want to give back in return to say, well, thank you. That's going to be one of the things that develops over time, is that there will be a mutuality of love and gratitude that comes when we start saying thanks every day.
Okay, I saw Felix putting a heart out as you were explaining, so I'm believing that he is okay. If he's not, he will let us know. Felix, are you good?
Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you, Ed, for the response. Thank you so much.
Thank you for a great question.
All right. Lucy, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Anthony, and thank you, Ed, for taking us through that. And I absolutely love the statement you made in the beginning that seeking to feel good is not lasting. And this is very true. It's just one of those things, you get the satisfaction right now, and then, it's not sustainable. Mm-hmm. And gratitude is something that I totally believe in. And I have chosen to live with and in gratitude. I noticed that as you gave us the 5 actions of gratitude, there was one that I felt was missing, and that was self-gratitude, saying thank you to yourself, giving back to yourself, making yourself welcome in situation, honoring yourself and creating goodness within yourself. Because once you know that good feeling of being grateful for what is happening, for the things that you're doing, how you're doing them, that action for me is so important, because I find that most of us are more about that exchange just spoke about right now. I'm doing something in exchange of. So I'm so much putting my focus on other people that I forget myself. And in forgetting myself, I am losing that opportunity of self-gratitude. I end up neglecting myself because I'm concentrating on how everybody else feels, or how I want to make everybody else feel.
Well,
so being able
let me
to
respond to that,
recognize.
Let me respond to that, Lucy. That's a very very good point that you're making, and I accept that.
Okay, all right.
as-
I was still on a roll there, Ed, but yes, I was coming to the end.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm okay. You can finish your point.
Please go ahead.
Well,
Can
what I
you hear
wanted
me?
to say is this. Some of us are very inward looking, and we're going to be focused on wanting to feel grateful. And we're going to look for ways to feel grateful. And others of us are very outwardly directed, and we're looking for ways to tell others that we're grateful. And yes, and we would miss being grateful to ourselves. So I think there is a balance there that you're pointing to, which I think is really important. And I take your whatever it is, correction, with great sincerity and seriousness. And I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So thank you, Lucy. Do you have something to add? You are on a roll.
I apologize for interrupting.
So Lucy is a coach, and she's a friend of
wanted
mine.
to finish off. I just wanted to finish off and say that the benefit of self-gratitude is once you recognize this, you're able to grow your self-esteem, your confidence, your personal growth. There's so many benefits to it. And Ed had mentioned that one of the benefits was relationships change. And in today's world, I wanted to add in that we need a lot of this. We need the appreciation to love your own company, be happy with your own self. And this would be one way to start getting rid of the depression, because that comes as a result of comparing yourself to the rest of the world and what you do not have. Yet you have so much available to you, and gratitude will help you recognize that. Full stop. That is where I was going to end.
Let me ask you a question. Can you help us distinguish between the kind of proper self-love that you're describing and what it means to be egotistical? Can you describe how those two are different, and how to manage that? I mean, that's a big question. It's a big question. I'm a podcaster, so I ask questions. But I think that's the question that's the big question that we face. So what do you think about that?
It's an interesting question. In fact, I would answer it from the point of understanding self-gratitude as an action and putting that literally into action. Crazy that I would use the word action twice. But as simple as you've done something today and you realize that it was a good thing. Maybe you exercised patience with yourself today and you thank yourself, because that is an action itself. Maybe you're giving back by way of compassion, extending some grace. to yourself. As a human being, human beings, we like to beat ourselves. Okay, let me speak for myself. I am a self-critic. And Ed, when I start beating on self, I really beat on myself. So I have learned how to extend myself grace, take a breath right there. And that would be me giving back to self, because I give grace to the world. I mean, I could go on with all the 5 examples, but that's how I'd answer the question. Start simply with self.
Thank you. That's really fantastic. There's a lot of stuff there is worth pondering.
Thank you for listening, Ed.
Thank you for sharing.
Awesome. Thank you. And I want to read something by Joy. She says that gratitude requires consistency to really manifest. But sadly, life throws us off balance, throws us all off balance. So she's saying that if we practice consistency, we can get into the habit of being grateful, but we do need to watch out for curveballs because there are issues of life that visit us, and sometimes we forget to be grateful. There's one last one here from Esther. She says that she finds that when she expresses gratitude to others, she's more at peace and she tends to see more of the positives in them. That is Esther.
Let me say something I think fits in.
Esther, would you?
Me, really quickly.
Go ahead.
You know, particularly with social media, it's very easy to be a critic. Very easy to be mad all the time, to be critical, and to try to make your point and to be self-justifying and all of these things. And it doesn't make us happy, and it doesn't even mean that we win debates or win the arguments. And what I've discovered is those people that I know who are like this, who are fighting battles and fighting wars and all this kind of stuff, are not happy, and they're not really grateful at the same time. So I am seeing that if this is a positive way of looking at things, somehow we're seeing through all this crisis and seeing something on the other side of it, which is worth seeking for, attaining, trying to reach for, and we reach for it together by saying, we need each other to get there. And we need to do this by saying thanks to one another and being respectful and seeing how we can come together to reach for that which is on the other side of the crisis that we're currently facing. And be at peace at mind as a result. Sorry, Tony, but that's just seemed something that needs to be said and needs to be said all the time. Don't be mad, be grateful.
No, I'm not. In fact, there's one more question for you from Grace. She's asking, can you be insincerely grateful to someone?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it's yes, you can be insincere in your gratitude. Absolutely. And that's one of the things you have to check. Am I just doing this because it's going to get me something? Goes back to I think it's Felix's question. Is it really something I'm doing to get something out of someone? Or am I truly grateful to them? And I'm saying this in a very humble state of mind.
Great. We are on top of the hour, so we should be closing. Elizabeth says that if we individually make the decision to be grateful, then our habits will most likely influence others in being grateful. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Grateful too. Yes, thank you. And she has a lot of support there. That people are agreeing with that. Awesome. Thank you for staying this long. We lost some people along the way. Clemency has something to add. She finds that gratitude has to be intentional, but it also requires humility. Yes. I think we can agree that statement. It agrees with some of the things that Ed was saying earlier. And I want to add that there has been research from the University of California, Berkeley, that gratitude actually lowers the stress hormone cortisol by 23%. So it is good for you to practice gratitude, to be a person who practices genuine gratitude. And I will be sharing something about that. I wanted us, because of the time, and I'm afraid of losing more of you. I'm seeing claps. Thank you, Clemency. Thank you, Lucy. I wanted to tell you something about Ed. Ed is among, I said many things about Ed. I forgot to say that Ed is also my friend, and he has been a mentor of mine in many things.
We're
And
mutually,
he has this fantastic book. Yes, sir?
we're mutually mentoring each other.
I like that about Ed too, because I believe in mutual mentorship as well. Thank you, Ed, for that.
Yes, sir.
So I want to talk about Ed's book. It's called Circle of Impact. And I want to share something. I just want to share something as I'm doing that. Circle of Impact offers you a unique African perspective on building impactful leaders. I introduced Ed as a leadership guy, and I love Ed's definition of leadership. Ed does not define leadership. He says it begins, he says where it starts, because a lot of books out there talk about leadership and they give it different definitions. So Ed talks about where leadership begins, and he says it begins when anybody, you, me, anyone, takes initiative to create change that creates impact that matters. It can matter to one person, it can matter to two, it can matter to 1,000. As long as you make a change that makes a difference, that creates an impact that matters to somebody, you are exercising leadership. You don't need a title, you just need to take the initiative to make a change where you are. It has a collection of African proverbs. It's beautiful. It's got some nice, I don't know if you can see those stick people. My wife really liked this when she looked at it. It's got very nice illustrations. It is going for that cost, 2,200, and that is a place where you can get it. Ed, do you want to say anything about the book?
Yes. It's
Go
a
ahead.
revision of this book that I wrote that was published in 2018. And in just my time with folks in Africa, it became clear that as good as this wasn't written for Africa, and there needs to be a book written specifically for Africa, and that's what we did. So with the team, my team at Epsilon Publishers, we went through and we reworked all the stories so that they'd be African-based stories. We added African proverbs and the African line drawings to make this more relevant to people in Kenya and other places in the continent. So I think it's a book for its time. It really is the first 21st century leadership book that's based on 21st century principles and not 20th or 19th century principles. And I think you would find it very valuable. And maybe you and your teams can read it. And if you're interested, I'd be glad to do Zoom calls with you all, with your groups at any time, at no cost. Just you all buy the book. But I would be glad to talk with you all at any time about the kinds of things we've talked about today. I'm just very grateful for the opportunity that I was given through the people that I've met there in various countries there in Africa, to be able to feel like I can make a difference, because you all have so much going for you, even in these hard times.
Thank you, Ed. So this is the cost. If you want more information, again, because you have my contact, you can also reach out to me. And from the influential, we are also offering you something today. we have, if you want to continue practicing gratitude, we have a 5-day gratitude challenge on our website that goes for $10 or 1,000 bob. But for 24 hours, we are going to give it to you for 200 shillings only, or $2. So if you know anybody who would like to practice gratitude, we will borrow some of the principles that Ed has put together, but we have some other things that we've added there. It's a 5-day gratitude challenge. So you have an action that you can practice daily. If you want to practice that over a period of 2 weeks or more, it's all upon you. You can find that on our website. And for 24 hours, it will be going for 200 bob. For 200 bob, I will throw a link in the chat so that you can take a look at it if you want to get that. Felix is already asking a question, Ed. He's saying you are a great mentor. Oh, he's saying that you are a great mentor indeed. And I would agree.
Thank you, Felix.
I would agree. Yes.
Honored.
So Ed also has other books that might interest you. He has a page on Amazon, has small books that go for $3, Ed.
The Kindle ones go for a couple of dollars. The paperback books, but they're, I don't know how far they send those out there. They tend to be around $9 US.
Ah, okay. Yes.
But
yeah,
if you can download Kindle, all the things that are there are on Kindle, except the Chinese language, this circle of so yeah. But I also write on a Substack, a column called The Future of Leadership, and that's where most of what I've written over the last 2.5 years has been posted. So that's also a place where you can find what I'm writing about, and that's and it's where the next book will emerge from, which will be a follow-up to the Circle of Impact book. So,
okay.